Hell, Spirit, you didn't think I would ever touch upon this show, huh? Transformers Prime is probably one of my favourite Transformers series to date. My favourite prequel goes to Transformers 1. No! And after it ended, yeah, as a kid I was disappointed that we never got the continuation it deserved. But it seemed 9-year-old me didn't get the memo that the series had actually gotten a sequel. And it's not the first time either. And let me tell you, when I found out the show was a sequel, my jaw kind of dropped at how, different it looked. The show's worst faults with them trying to do something new, but with anything older, they failed just as much. So without further ado, Transformers Robots in Disguise, Miswritten Story. Going into Transformers Robots in Disguise, I thought Optimus was supposed to come back a few seasons later. No, he does not.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
For some background, in Prime's continuity, the show was about returning to their dead planet Cybertron and restoring it back to life. However, with no other way after every other means had been destroyed, Optimus Prime sacrificed himself to restore Cybertron, and years later it became a civilization once more. However, in Robots in Disguise, they decide he needs to come back. Okay, not only does he return, but the title represents him so much because he's miswritten as well. During Season 1, Optimus brought B to Earth to fend against the bigger threat coming to Earth, aka Megatronus Prime, who, can I say, has the actual worst setup in the series. Nay, the entire catalogue of villains in the show, 9 to date in any franchise. He's the one that blew up the Alchemor, the ship that had Steeljaw, before appearing in one episode as this thing. Before in that final episode does he, appear and it's revealed who it is. And Christ, can I say, this is the most boring Prime design on the planet. How the fuck do you design a basic bitch design for Megatronus Prime? The mask is cool and all, but his lackey is literally better designed. Anyways, what we thought were the villains that had escaped off the Alchemor was actually a poorly strung up villain. Essentially, you would assume that Optimus would offer advice that B would need to decipher or talk to him directly about something, especially since he was unprepared for a scenario like this. However, that was for, like a few episodes, believe it or not. What Optimus was just an early warning system for an even bigger threat than Steeljaw, his pack, and the remaining Decepticons on the loose.
Big is beautiful.
And here's the thing, Optimus wasn't even needed for this. The only thing he accomplished with being a distraction is Megatronus' punching bag, which, I mean, yeah, their powers are rivaled, I guess. Though how much of 10 or more Prime's powers did they deliver? I mean, yeah, B was the one to kill Megatron in a symbolic way for losing his voice to end his life. This team defeating them didn't mean shit with their own skills or ingenuity. It was just B, Strong Arm, and Sideswipe, and their bullshit power-up that they somehow discover if you put the weapons together. It gives you this bright blue armor, which, oh boy, can I say, does not look good on any of them besides Strong Arm. Who actually thought this looked good? The Omninaut designs look like the Mona Lisa in comparison. This scene was also just them remembering they can transform their weapon, which they don't take advantage of ever. No, I am not kidding. Hey! It felt like they wanted to bring Megatronus as the Megatron replacement if Optimus was set to return.
I will probably punch you.
What?
Yeah, that's right. And you will probably be... Oh, he died.
But after Optimus comes back in Season 2 for around... let's see. The entire season, actually, in every episode he's in, he's an old crippled man who can only offer a few things in a battle. He was there to basically fight Megatronus, and Optimus was given the power of the Primes, which nearly killed him the first time because of the accelerated revival of him, but then it weakened him upon taking it back. leaving Optimus to be this stubborn Prime who lives around on the other side of the fucking planet. And it doesn't help when both Sideswipe and B have seen that injured teammates need to know they can take the reins if need be, and that pushing themselves will only lead to more pain if they're experiencing an injury. Grimlock got hit in the ribs, and somehow Optimus is still standing in the fucking freezing tundra. Different temperatures or not, it felt unrealistic he would be in more pain. He nearly died the first time he was in ice. It felt so out of character that they made it so Optimus would never stop to rest and gather his energy, but oh yeah, this is the same Transformer that was willing to make Smokescreen a Prime while on his deathbed, and yet, with an ounce of power, was able to repair his body with the Forger creation. Or how about the time he leaves the key that can restore his memories to a fucking human instead of another Autobot?
Sigma.
Out of all the characters to be in an extremely weak state, Optimus should be the one to realize he needs to recharge, and let the others do what they can by putting trust in them. Because him giving the key of Vector Sigma to Jack was so important that Ratchet knew why he did it. Oh, but yes, let's have B not even make an attempt, even though they've known and fought along each other for maybe a couple centuries.
Let us continue our mission.
Optimus, you should take it easy.
I am functional. And if I am functional, then I am capable of assisting as I heal.
If Optimus says he can help, he can help.
And yeah, while he did get a few moments here and there, he wasn't as strong as he should have been. When they gave him screen time in a fight, they just made him weaker until the end. Oh, and speaking of trust, at the end of Season 2 when he's recovered, for some reason they felt as Optimus and B needed to have conflict towards each other. It could have been for any other reason than leadership, and I get they were both leading different teams, but the show, since bringing back Optimus, has made it clear that the characters kind of depend on him. For the past 2 seasons, they've done all they can, and while Megatronus needing to be fought by Optimus was questionable, who should be leading Decepticon Island should not be the focus, because again, Optimus and B have been allies longer than anyone else. Ratchet is literally the one to state this. He knows at this point he can let B take the lead because he knows he can handle it, and not uncomfortably cut him off to lead his way. And the fact is they did exactly that in the first fucking minute of the 2-part finale. No question after why B explaining his reasoning, but then he kept escalating to the point anyone would just be sinking in their seat, hiding their face.
Awkward.
He even accepted B's plan blind while fighting Megatronus, which, I guess kind of erased him out of existence.
Give me your money.
Forgetting Prime's last 3 seasons, that should be enough to trust your scout has grown up enough and ready to lead, especially if his power-up is with 2 of the most immature and inexperienced warriors.
You've got it all wrong. I just want to be wherever you aren't. Enough!
But if it was a less experienced leader like Strongarm or Sideswipe, yeah, I could see Optimus trying to lead or being wary of this inexperienced leader. But not like this. He doesn't think B is ready to lead a team this size when it's 3 additional Transformers. 2 that have fought alongside B for a long time, and the other one isn't exactly disobedient or flies out on her own. But this series can't even grow its own characters besides B maturing into a leader, Sideswipe becoming less immature, Drift becoming more lenient. And even those last 2 are pushing it, as Strongarm and Grim remain as someone who just sticks to the law and Dumbbot who learns nothing. Am I sexist for saying I don't like her? Who am I kidding? I barely like any of them. The ones I like more and the show less. Figure that. Now, the show involves Optimus a lot of the time, as I've said. Despite not being a main figure, he's for some reason always important in the end of the seasons. Because Season 3 is a prime example of that, since the characters do find and stopping the villains from picking up artifacts. But at the end, of course, the writers decide that Optimus needs to be the one on the front line stopping Starscream in his super suit. Not to mention how Starscream isn't even remotely hinted to be the one after these guys. But to defeat him, it can't be the leader, it has to be Optimus. It takes from the end of episode 2 to the end of episode 4 to arrive. And for reference, season 3 is a 6 episode season due to its lower scale story. I mean, yeah, he doesn't take full credit as he doesn't have the power to stop Starscream. That's because of Sideswipe. And he was the only one to get like a boost that makes it look like he got one. Optimus has probably many more issues than just being the main character of a story he's not the main character of. But if they're wanting to focus Optimus than Prime gave him, well, go for it. Optimus is a key part of Transformers in just every story, and I get that, but Robots in Disguise, if anything, uses him as a way to stop a bigger threat that the team supposedly can't handle, when that's not even the case. Like, it is so easy to have made the team realize these weapons do more, rather than just, whoopsies, I never thought about that until the most crucial part we need it. He was only with the team for short spurts, a few missions in Season 2 until the end of Season 3, and what I'm about to get into, later end of Season 4. He should have never been focused on or never used besides giving B advice. So while I grew up with this Optimus, it sucks that he's become a character that can't trust his scout, his closest ally, with leading his team without a little faith. And while he wasn't my all-time favourite character in the Prime show, that title goes to my one true love, he was definitely the worst one to come from the Prime show from these changes. Season 4 has a massive problem, and unfortunately, it manages to root itself into the rest of the show. As I explained with the Optimus segment, he was always the character they depended on, but there's a twist. During Season 4, he's absent most of the time, except for near the end, where he explains that a threat has hit Cybertron. And this is something really fun, because apparently this plot of a corrupt Cybertron has been around since when Drift was first arrived. That was episode 12. Of Season 1. Oh, they did mention something earlier in episode 10, but that was warranted because they did evade police officers, destroy Optimus' statue, use a space bridge, and travel to Earth. But that is still over 50 episodes before they actually commit to this story, because it has no relevance whatsoever until the last season, and even then it is such a bare bones plot. Well, what do I mean? Unrelated, but fun fact, did you know that 16 episodes, 60% of Season 4 is dedicated to these Stunticons? A bunch of combining Transformers that are a waste of space. I mean, totally cool tubular villains. Basically, they're not connected to Season 4's main villains, like, at all. I don't think any of them actually mutter their names. Hey, so about that, in reality they take up only 7 episodes, but conclude this story after 16 episodes. However, this little mistake actually proves my point that Season 4 was a mess because the rest of the episodes are just filler. After the first 2 episodes of Stunticons, Random Crustacean, Sharkticon, Springload, Stunticon,
Bird.
Drift's Old Mentor, Stunticon, Nitra, Old Decepticon, Simicore, Stunticon, and final Stunticon. More episodes were given to this plot in total, and yet most of it was filling in the backstory, which really should have come a lot sooner, and not just a bunch of random Decepticons who have nothing to do with that season. Even Steeljaw's pack has a row of episodes, one after the other, and not spread out by a couple episodes. I should have stuck with the 16 episodes, because looking into this more as I should have, makes this so much worse. And I have to say this here, while it is fine to have filler, if more filler is occupying the more interesting plot, then just don't. And in reality, the one person who is important to the villains is... in around 4 episodes. And that's by his voice only. Say hello to the brand new, redesigned, talking Soundwave! I take it back. Optimus wasn't the most ruined. It's Soundwave. In around a few episodes, there are a few mini-appearances of Minicons handing an auto-tune voice coming out of a space bridge. Decepticon hunters they stole. This takes around 14 episodes, which they appeared like 5 times. For them to gather all of them, and another 7 fucking episodes to conclude this plot point in 1 episode. No, I am not kidding when I say that it takes him 7 episodes for Soundwave to finally enact his plan. To which he is beaten in that same episode, and my god, is it a mess. Because another Minicon that helped Optimus take out Laserbeak reveals himself to be an activator Minicon that required programming. But not only that, but has actually been skulking around waiting for the right moment to help, and guess what? 10 episodes. It took 10 episodes. We get revealed what they are, what happened, what the plan was in one episode. This also wasn't some steel technology plan, but kind of eradicating all of life on the planet, and to call upon Megatron, who's MIA. Yes, our plot to bring back Megatron that failed, that set up for like 4 episodes, is wasted in 1 episode. In summary, while we had 16 episodes of Stunticons who had no relation towards the Season 4 villains, the other B-plot of maybe 4 episodes actually did. And then 2 additional filler episodes after the Soundwave episode, before finally getting on with the main story. I'm sorry, it took that long? I'm not even done as well. As for the end of the series, the final enemy to the show that was setting up as early as Season 1 was the High Council, who you don't know until the final episode that they were actually, and secretly, drumroll please, a group of Decepticons. Do showrunners know what plot twists are anymore? Because the idea of light bending was also introduced in Season 4. Actually, the minicon that helped Optimus was in that same episode. And the disguises were introduced at that moment, which isn't helping their case. So yeah, the High Council who have been in control for some time have actually been Decepticons, waiting for Megatron to come back. Which meant enslaving the entire populace, making it so veterans who fought in the war for Cybertron had a hard time finding jobs. Boy, that sounds familiar and political, and yet it's so badly executed. And do you know what sucks about this thread? It's one of the best ideas in the series thus far, and arguably, I'd even say rivals some of Prime's best moments and stories. But they didn't, even though they had the blueprints for it. Like the idea of Decepticons infiltrating, mainly what is an Autobot civilization, controlling the populace, initiating wars on other places, all for their leader, is kind of a really great story. Hell, I'd even say that would make a great Transformers film, though that's kind of dead in the water. But they don't commit to the idea, and what this does is hurt our perception of these villains because, really, what are their names? If you've watched the show, please, in the 2 episodes they were in, what are their names? See, that's something I can't answer because I'm not used to them. I'm used to Springload, an insane frog Decepticon who got way too many screen time, while Prime and just about any other villain is remembered because of their actions, episodes, or screen time. Why do you think people who have watched and grew up with Prime know this as Megatron, Starscream, Knockout, Soundwave? You get the point. These characters all have iconic personalities, voices, designs, and this goes back to the Stunticons. They are so forgettable. I legitimately cannot remember any of their names besides Motormaster, which I only remember is because it's stupid for a character setup to be a threat, even though he's just claiming the roads. Seriously, their entire purpose. We lost a plot about Cybertron run by Decepticons for a bunch of losers thinking they control Earth by running the roads. They even did a fucking race episode where they thought if they win, they'd own the roads. Yes, that is how fucking stupid this show is. And from the council, out of the twins, the big dude, the girl is the only one that stands out. The one person in the entire council who's had second thoughts and resents actions and measures taken. That could have been built up and show why is she worried, what are they doing, why is she hesitant. The only thing this leads up to is without her cooperation, their combiner power fails because she holds back, letting the Autobots win and never seeing her again. By the way, that is single-handedly the deciding factor in their fates, and it's left to a small scene where she's hesitant, when we haven't even seen her other side. That's not even bringing up how in the last 2 episodes, it's brought to our attention Optimus' secret mission that included Drift, so he was gone for 9 episodes. It consisted of Windblade, Jazz, Ratchet, Drift, and Optimus was gathering intel on the council as early as Season 3's finale. It's to keep the audience in mystery, but they do it in such a poor way that it's incomplete and badly written. Optimus says old friends, then proceeds to only show Jazz and Ratchet. Bulkhead joined after, but he had no idea. While I'm not a fan of most of the redesigns, fuck, it sucked that they had these character designs and did nothing with them. Especially since this seems like a story you'd expect new and old factions of the war team to fight for Cybertron again. But I find it really funny they blacklisted a dead guy. That's not even a joke. How I would have fixed it is simpler, and more doable. While I could have preferred it to be the main show's story, I'll limit it to just Season 4. For starters, completely remove the Stunticons as the main villain, because let's be honest, they are only used to be a way to learn to control the Combiner form, and even then they spend more episodes trying to figure out how to use it before removing one of the characters that makes up the weapon. This shit is stupid, and have some episodes dedicated to two teams, B's team and Optimus's team, where one deals with the pack who have suddenly come back. Optimus is learning about Cybertron and seeing the political damage that's occurring. This would also let the audience and other characters find out they were heavily blacklisted on Cybertron with the introduction of Ratchet, Bulkhead, and if they went the extra mile, RC, Smokescreen, and Ultra Magnus. Not only would this make them despise the leaders of Cybertron despite the great lengths they went to, this would also give us time with the Council on showing off each individual character, with a major focus on light-bending technology and what it can do, which lets the audience guess if they're using the same technology. While they never have to leave the planet, we'll hear of their plans, motivations for Megatron even though he would disapprove of their actions. And pausing for a sec, Megatron quit because he saw what it was like to be controlled and would straight up shoot the leader down if he saw this. B's team would slowly put the pieces together from what some pack members have said, while the pack being free alone would confirm their suspicions. I just fixed nearly everything wrong with that filler of the last season. It saddened me they didn't follow through with an infinitely more interesting plot for their show. It's insane to me this wasn't a 13 episode season or another mini season, because these Stunticons were only for the Combiner thing. Humans and Transformers is always a topic of discussion, but out of all the humans, at least from what I've grown up with, I have to say, Robots in Disguise does the absolute worst out of all of them, to the point that the writers forget they exist. In the show, I've neglected to mention the characters Russell and Danny Clay. Danny is a divorced dad who shares custody with Russell while they live in a scrapyard selling antiques. But a problem comes up when they're so boring. While a lot of the episodes thankfully revolve around the Autobots, I notice they do jack shit with both Danny and Russell. Like, when it comes to these two are somehow less interesting than reboot Max Tennyson. How the fuck do you make that possible? Now the main issue is because, unlike these three, Danny and Russell don't have an Autobot they closely hang or ride with. If you had asked me what Transformer each character matches with the other, I'd say Jack and RC, Miko and Bulkhead, Raph and Bumblebee.
You're a motorcycle, RC. Shouldn't you know how to build a motorcycle engine?
You're a human, Jack. Can you build me a small intestine?
But for Danny and Russell, Grimlock and Sideswipe are the closest thing to partners to Russell, and Fix It for Danny, who doesn't even transform. He's unironically a very powerful Transformer, maybe the strongest out of the entire team, and yet he gets hit with permanent amnesia and no transformation powers. I even looked back to some of the original episodes to see if I was being unfair to Robots in Disguise. Yeah, I wasn't. They were involved multiple times, where a few times it would challenge the characters, dynamics, and you don't get that from these two. Of course, maybe a handful of times, but they're often just used as crowd control while using the bad guys, a very bad holiday equivalent to disguises.
The Grinch?
Hans Krupa? Ebenezer Scrooge.
You know, to make them feel useful in a situation that could use a government agent who knows of the Autobots and can trust the team when Bumblebee has worked with him. You know, it occurred to me I never even, mentioned what their personalities are. Kid? Dad. They never really bring out the divorced dad stuff, and that's something I only remembered when writing this script. Honestly, if you miss that detail, you'll probably think the mother's, dead. That's certainly what I thought when I watched Spectacular Spider-Man and not realizing Harry's mum just doesn't talk. They never had their standout moments or episodes that really stuck, besides Russell choosing what souvenir mattered more, or Denny learning to stay out of Fix's business, and same with Fix-It. They're just squishies, and I'm sorry, but these two characters are the only ones I have never been able to get a read on. Especially since I love stories that grow the characters in a non-episodic way, so seeing a divorced dad and his son bond would have been very heartwarming. There's maybe one episode, two if that, and it's so rare. I only know that season 1 episode 12 has Danny trying to keep Russell out of trouble as a protective instinct. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm working with, fellas. Honestly though, there is another character they just completely waste. She wasn't the funniest, but Hank, Russell's football friend, who remains as that for the few episodes she's ever in. She has speaking roles in 5 episodes and 6 appearances in total, and I really feel that she had chemistry with Russell, who made his episodes tolerable. It surprised me they never had any more mainstay humans when you consider the only human to know them in the entire series is a monk. The next thing is unrelated, but just something to do with Grimlock, who should have become a more patient fighter and character in general, but status quo. Brother Gunther, I wish could have made more appearances teaching Grimlock, since they also had great chemistry.
I just don't think I'll ever get this right.
Friend Grimlock, do you really think I got this right on my first attempt? Or my second? Or my 100th? Of course not. But I stayed with my task. I stayed
Patient.
Yes, because when you do, what you can achieve is amazing.
Be patient. Wait for him.
It makes me wish they brought back a doll version of the main characters of Prime, who at least would have had more personality while teaching the rookies. Honestly, if you watch the series, you will notice how little they actually do and how unfunny these characters are. I have nowhere else to put this, but I just wanted to mention that I hate Fix-It, like with a passion. He has the worst gag I have ever experienced because it's just so repetitive, competitive, repetitive.
Only pod still in tactician. Intactometer. Intact. Quite interesting. Interesting. Still out on alignment, advisement, assignment, billing. The thrilling part of what I do. Donation, location, could create such damage.
Yes. What do I think of Transformers Robots in Disguise? Just a piece of fucking garbage. I can't believe I wasted time on this show that, while it had its fun moments here and there are definitely parts I enjoy, and I chose this over Ultimate Spider-Man, which has such glowing opinions.
Iron. White Tiger. Is Luke
Power Man.
Nova. I would have to school a bunch of new guys. Luke, Abel, Danny, and Sam. They're superheroes, sort of like me. Power Man, White Tiger, Iron Fist, and Nova.
It's just a show that feels really out of place and never focuses on the things I'd reckon would have sold more toys. That's the entire point of Transformers, to sell toys. And they just don't do shit with it. A literal villainous Prime, he's in 1 episode. A legion of Decepticons in a big ship, they do fuck all and their ship is focused on in the final 2 episodes. Mini Transformers that power up others with trust? Do I even need to say it? A council of Decepticons who can light shift? Do none of these sound like ways to make money and make it a concurrent fucking show? I look through the toys, there's a toy called Super Bee. That's not the Combiner toy, by the way.
Wait, are you serious?
I'm sorry that I'm mad, but it gets to the point where you see so much potential in a show that has so many more episodes with even more parts of Transformers I have never known were a thing, and it's wasted for garbage. But it sucks, this show never truly became as great as Prime, especially since it's so isolated from the original series. Even Rescue Bots is praised more.
Who are you flying with, B?
Nobody. It's just me. What?
But if I could recommend it? No. No. Literally watch anything else. Why not try that Transformers Prime spirit out?